and today I'm going to be presenting a project that I'm working on as part of my PhD, and it's a case study of information security behaviours in a law firm. So this poster presents my research so far and also some ongoing research that I'm still getting on with. So I'm exploring information security behaviours in this organisation from a psychological perspective, using protection motivation theory, which looks at how people understand and perceive risk, and also some psychological literature on things like the optimism bias and various other cognitive biases that come into play when people understand risk, specifically in information security. And then I'll also be looking at some of the usable security literature that's already been done out there. So if I look at my research design, I really wanted to do a qualitative research project just to try and delve in more deeply into people's behaviours and the understanding of why people behave in a certain way and the way they do, and also understand how people perceive information security within an organisation. One thing that was actually particularly interesting about this law firm is that they were previously victim to a big cyber attack and ransomware attack in which they were taken offline for a couple of months. So I found it particularly interesting to see whether people were still optimistically biased in terms of information security within a firm that had actually had first-hand experience of what could happen in a cyber attack and what a cyber attack could do to the normal functioning of a business. So far I've completed 2 elite interviews with the information security awareness team, and I've also completed 7 focus groups with 18 participants to look at the optimism bias and again, whether that's been influenced by being victim to a cybersecurity attack. The second study that I've done was with 11 interviews with company managers, including the CISO, to understand the psychology of management and how management think about the psychology of employees. I then interviewed 9 lower level employees to understand their thoughts and behaviours and kind of compare the two and see if and how there were any differences. The third study that I'm trying to complete at the moment is interviews with employees from different departments. And here I really want to explore whether information security can change within an organisation that has offices firstly around the globe and also a few within the UK as well, to see if there's any differences between departments and security culture and whether that has an influence. My fourth study, which I hope to do in the next few months, I hope to take interviews with people from global offices and try and have a look at whether the culture of different countries impacts information security culture within an organization as well, or also whether, because their information security is centralized, whether this has an impact on ensuring a stable culture throughout the organization. So my initial findings so far, I haven't completely analyzed the data yet, and I hope to do this using in vivo, but this is just some initial quotes that I thought were interesting that I thought I'd put up here. So as you can see, the first quote kind of demonstrates that people still see the human as the main issue in information security, which is quite interesting, seeing how this affects the people in information security and whether it's a positive mental attitude to kind of have. And that's something that I'm kind of trying to go against a little bit in my research, so I did find it interesting. The second quote, you can see that people who had experienced the cyber attack really think that that experience helped them and understand how vulnerable things are in terms of cybersecurity. And however, you can see in the third quote that a lot of people, and the fourth quote as well, actually, it didn't have the impact that I thought it was going to have. People kind of in the organization, I got this from a lot of interviews, think that just because they've had a cybersecurity attack before means that it's much less likely to happen again because of that experience. And the last one I put up here because I found it interesting. Obviously, because my research incidentally happened during COVID, the global pandemic and the fact that people moved from home obviously then came out of my research, even though that wasn't something I specifically set out to look at. And people highlighted some security concerns and differences between working in the offices compared to working at home. So, for example, this one demonstrates that people thought that, if you're working with flatmates, that posed a different risk because you weren't working in the same offices with the people that had the same information as you anyway, and it was a bit harder to trust that people might not be looking and understanding what you're doing. But I hope to explore this a bit more in depth when I come to analyze the data in full. So thank you very much. And if you want to talk any more about my post or my research, feel free to email me in the contact information below. Thank you.